We're learning as a schus refuah shlema, Pilana B'chaya Basarach. We're on Daf Samach Dalid Amid Aleph. About 20 lines on the top. We just said Vasula Midi. We came to our conclusion about the previous question that these Amoraim were sitting and talking. So the Gemara continues. Hadur Yasvi Kavakami Boyalahu. They continued and they were still sitting and they asked another question. When we've talked about when a yid sells his avodas kechavim, his avodah zara, to a guy. So we were talking about the question of whether the money, we said the money that he gets in return for the avodah zara has a din isser on it as well. So now we're asking a question: when one avodah zara, one avodas kechavim, one non-Jew sells to another, one idol worshiper sells another idol worshiper his avodah zara, does it also get the din that the money that he got is going to be also? That means he can't give that money to a yid because there's an isser on it. He says that's not going to be true. That the din of that is tefeses dameh, that the money that's gotten in return for selling avodah zarah, that's only when a yid sells and he gets money. But when one guy sells to another guy, we have to keep a whole like money laundering system for the goyim to make sure that any money that they got in exchange for avodah zarah, that has an isser of avodah zarah on it. That's l'chayr not true. And he brings a raya. There were those who came in front to Rabbi Baravua to ask the question. Amalahu zilu zavinu kol mad isluchu. The su is gair. They came to tell him that they wanted to be Megayah. And Rabbi Baravua said to them, before you Megayah, I have a good answer for you. Sell whatever you have, and then be Megayah. Meaning, sell your avodah zarah. If you're going to be Megayah and you have avodah zarah, first of all, it's us for you to keep it. There's nothing going to be able to do with it. You're going to have to destroy it. Sell it now while you're a guy. And there's no isser for a guy to be nana from avodah zarah. He's not allowed to be even avodah zarah. There's no isser for him to be nana. My time, and it must be because he holds that this money that he got in exchange for selling is going to be mutter, because otherwise, what does he accomplish by selling it? It's still going to be usher, even though now he doesn't have the avodah zarah, but now he has money that's going to be useless to him when he's a yid. Gemara says maybe there's a different reason. It may be einachanami that when a guy sells his avodah kechavim, it's taifesas, the money he gets in exchange is going to be awesome. But over there's a different reason why the avodah zarah will be, the money he gets will be mutter, because it wasn't avodah zarah anymore. Because the chayra, this potential convert, this guy who's intending to be Megayah, he's going to first be mevatel as avodah zarah, as we've learned. An avodah kechavim, someone who worships idols, has the ability to do some small physical damage to his avodah zarah, and then say, I don't want it to be avodah zarah anymore, and it gets downgraded. It's no longer an avodah zarah. So when he said, sell your avodah zarahs, he meant first be mevatel it, and then sell it, because this is someone who's intended to Megayah. L'chayra, he was mevatel whatever avodah zarah he has. So hasam kivin daiti ligure vade batla. So therefore, that is not a raya that there's no isser on the money that was received in exchange for an avodah zarah for the sale of by a guy. Elamehacha. So we're going to bring a different raya to this concept that there's no tefesas dameh on the avodah zarah that was sold by a guy to another guy. Yisrael sahi noishav avodas kechavim mana. A yid who was owed a mana from an idol worshipper. Umakar avodas kechavim v'hevi lo yayinesach v'hevi lo. And this idol worshipper, this avodah zarah, went and sold his Avoda Zara and gave it to pay back his debt, or he sold Yayin Nesach and he gave it to the Yid to pay back his debt. Mutter, it's mutter. There's no problem. Ovid Kechavim did it on its own, and there's nothing to worry about. Avol Amalei Hamtin Li Ache Emker Avos Kechavim Be'evilach Yayin Nesach Be'evilach also. If he said, so the bride is going to be from that first din, right? We're saying that even after he sold it, he could take the money and give it to the Yid. But the bride continues. It says if the Ovid Kechavim said to the Yid, hold on, I know I owe you $100. Wait till tomorrow. I'm going to sell my Avodah Zara. I'm going to sell my Yayin Nesach. Awesome. It's awesome. Maishna Rachel, Maishna say. But what Isser is there in the second case? In either case, he's getting the money that was given for the Avodah Zara. The Seifa, it's as if the Yid wants the Avodah Zara or the Yayin Nesach to be Mekoyim. He's hoping for it to survive. And like we learned yesterday, there's a din that you can't be right. A Yid cannot be Mekayim. For example, we saw the Gabi Klayim. There was a machlekes where they can be Mekayim, but Avodah Zara, you're not allowed to try to be Mekayim. Right? You can't put a fence around it. You can't do things to preserve it. And over here, this, it's not exact. It's not an actual case of Reitzer B'Kiyum, but he's not doing anything. It's just the guy doing it internally and then him benefiting from it. But the Gemara is saying that it's similar to that. Necham Geyser, on such a case where the Yid was told, wait till tomorrow when I sell my Avodah Zara, then at that point the Yid is invested in the Avodah Zaras and making it to the next day. Correct the Gemara. Is that really aser for a Yid to wait to get some money where he doesn't actually do anything for it? But nan ger v'ovid kechavim sheyarshu avi and ovid kechavim ger v'ovid kechavim sheyarshu avi and ovid kechavim. A ger, two brothers, one was Megayer and one remained in ovid kechavim, and the father, who was also an ovid kechavim, died, and he left over his golden idols. Ger yachaloim lo telat aves gechav ani mois telat yayin esech v'ani peres. The brother who's a ger can tell his non-Jewish, his idol-worshipping brother, you take the yayin esech, you take the ovid kechavim, and I'll get the peres. The Rishonim explain that there's no real Yerusha from the father who's an ovid kechavim. A ger shenerlitz ger this guy is Katan, so he doesn't really have any yichas to his father. Chavul Misakin that he should take the Yerusha, but he doesn't have any real rights. He doesn't have any ownership. So he's saying, if the brother is willing to give him, so he can take money, but he doesn't have any rights really in that Ovid Kechavim or in that Avodah Zara or in that Yayin Nesach. So you take the Yayin Nesach and Avodah Zara, and I'll take the money because it's not something that's his. We always have the machlekes throughout Shas by a Jew who's Irish, whether the Yerusha is when the Yerusha is split up, is each one treated as if he got it directly by Yerusha, or is it treated as if one sold when if there was one field that was worth $100, another field that was worth $100? Do we look at it that each one sold the rights to the other one in return for getting their field? But over here, that's none of that question because there's no real Yerusha. So therefore, the ger doesn't have any real rights in Avodah Zara. So when he tells the brother, you take it, he can take it. And we see there's no issue. We're not concerned about that it's Reitzer B'Kiyumah. So l'chayra, this is a raya keneged our explanation of the brisa. The reason why, in the case of the Avodah Zara, we can say we're not concerned about that he's right to the brother who's getting the brother who's a ger, who and the other one is getting the avodah zara. We don't say that now this ger is invested in the kiyum, in the continued existence of the avodah zara. Is we're talking about an avodah zara that's made out of gold pieces. So you could just disassemble it and take it apart, and it will no longer be an avodah zara. So he has no need for the avodah zara to be kept in its pristine state. He doesn't care. So take it apart. So he has there's no issur on him for giving it to his brother because he doesn't care that it should stay. Take it apart and make it not an avodah zara anymore. What are you going to say about Yayin Nesach? We said that you could do it by Yayin Nesach. Yayin Nesach, he's certainly going to care if the vessel holding the Yayin breaks and it crashes to the ground and there's no Yayin Nesach left, then the brother's going to come to him. His brother, the idol worshiper, is going to come to him and say, "I'm not willing to give you the $100. I want to split the $100 because the Yayin Nesach is no longer around." So you don't have the like what we said by the Avodah Zara that we could say he doesn't care if it exists in its current form. The Nesach, when it pours out, he won't care because he'll lose his money. So Gemara B'cheres Hadraini. This is the Cheres Hadraini that we're talking about Yayin. We talked about this before, where they used to send them out to war. They would they would soak these earthenware shards with wine so they could then concentrate it in the shards, and then reconstituted it when they traveled. It was an easier way to carry it that it wouldn't ruin. So we're talking about that kind of wine. So even if they break the shards, it still retains its wine. It's not going to get damaged. So that's the reason why it's not right to. He's not right to b'kiyuma. But there's a lot of other ways it could get damaged. So he wants it to stay, that it doesn't get stolen, it doesn't get lost. So that's not an explanation for we said that we saw from our case that by Yisrael that was owed money, he can receive if he says Hamton li'acha emker, it's also because Davle roitze b'kiyumai. When someone is owed money, we said it's roitze b'kiyumai, but we said legabe the ger and his brother that we're not concerned about roitze b'kiyumai. El Amar Papa Yerusha Sager Ka'amret. You're asking from Yerusha Sager, from an inheritance from a ger. Shanu Yusager the Kilo Barabanan. The whole din of Yerusha is a kula. That means because he wasn't really supposed to get the Yerusha altogether. The Chamim didn't want him to be chayzer on his gerus. Once he's Megayer, if he then a week later he finds out, this Gates kid, he finds out, oh, I didn't realize that I'm Megayer. Now my father Bill Gates died, and I'm not getting the $100 billion I was supposed to get. He might have charata about his decision. The Chachamim said he can be Megah, he could be Irish. So the same way they were Makel, they allowed him to be Irish. They also were Makel, and they said we're not going to answer it because he's right to be Kiyumai shell. They didn't make that takana as well. Shanu Sager, the Kil Baraban Xer Shemiyachzel Kulei. By Yerusha Sager, they were not geyser, they were makel because they don't want him to go back to his ways to give up on his gears. So therefore, they also were makel legabi the roitze b'kiyum. Tanya nami hachi. I'll bring you a raya that it's a kula that the chum allowed a ger to be Yerish's father. Medvar misha yarshu. That which it said that it's the previous brisa that we had said that when a brother who's a ger is can take the money and he says you my brother the avodah zara can take the avodah zara and the yayin nesach. That's only where he was yarshin. Al nishtatfu, but if it was his partner, and it's not a Yerusha, but he just wants to divide up their belongings. The two guys, what's his name? It was the Walmart brothers, the Walton brothers, and one of the Waltons, they all owned Walmart together, and one of the brothers said, I want to be Megaya. So he was a shutuf with his brothers. That's going to be awesome. Because over there you don't have the kula of Yerusha. So therefore you don't have the kula, and he's writes it b'kiyumai shel the Avodah Zara and the Yayin Esach. Now the Gemara comes and discusses a new question, a third question that these Amoraim were discussing. Hadi Yazvakam Abailu, Ger Toishav, Maushi Yavat Lavetz Kechavim. What's the din? We know that a guy, a full-fledged Ovid Avodah Zara, can be mevatel the Avodah Kechavim of his or even from another guy. What's the din of a Ger Toishav? A Ger Toishav he's still a non-Jew, 100% a non-Jew. He wasn't Megayer in spite of the word Ger in his name. It means that he lives amongst the Yidden, and as we're going to see, he accepted upon himself. There's a machlokes about what exactly he accepted upon himself. At a minimum, he accepted not to be Ovid Avodah Zara, maybe the Shem Mitzvah Noach, maybe even more mitzvahs. But such a Ger Toshev has at least a din that he can be supported by Yid. In general, there's an isser for a Yid to give a matana to a guy, but a Ger Toshev, it's allowed. So this Ger Toshev, what's the din that he should, Lagabi him being mevatel Avodah Zara? The palach mevatel, the lay palach le mevatel. Maybe only someone who worships Avodah Zara has the ability to be mevatel. And a Ger Toshev, by definition, he has to accept not to be Avodah Zara. I do a call the bar minei mevatel. High bar minei, anyone who's similar, anyone who's a guy, is able to be mevatel, and he is also a guy. Amlu Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said, "Mistaber the palach mevatel, the lay palach le mevatel." It's likely that only someone who actually worships Avodah Zara can be mevatel, but someone who's not, it cannot. That's his svara. Meisvei. Meisvei, fragt Gemara, Yisrael shem motza avodas kechavim b'shok. A Yisrael, they found that avodas kechavim in public. Actually, basli yadai, until it came to his hands. It means once the Yid picked it up, it's too late to be mevatel. It's something that belongs to Yid. It's Avodah Zara Yid cannot be bottled. But he could get a guy, bring over a guy, and tell him go be mevatel, and then grab it. But once it came to his hands, he can't be mevatel. Because we said the rule is that Ovid Kichavim can be mevatel the Avodah Zara, whether it belongs to him or to another guy. So similarly, he could get the Ovid Kichavim to be mevatel this Avodah, this lost idol in the shuk, and then the Yid can scoop it up. And the Brisa continues, Bein Oivda u Bein She'ein Oivda. This applies whether the Ovid Kichavim worships the Avodah Zara, whether he's a worshiper or not. My Avdu, my She'ein Oivda. What is this last clause? That whether he's a Ovid or not Ovid. And if you'll say, it's coming to tell you, both whether Oivda and Oivda are both Oivda Kechavim, Hainu Shaloi V'Shel Chaverei, Hainu Shaloi V'Shel Chaverei. If you're saying it's saying that one Oivda Kechavim can be mevatel that of another Oivd Kechavim, it already said that in the Brisa. It said Shaloi V'Shel Chaverei, that one can be mevatel, one guy can be mevatel, another Oivd Kechavim's Avodah Zara. So that wouldn't need it. That wouldn't be a chiddush. Elav Oivd Oivd Kechavim, Elamai. The Oivd means Oivd Kechavim. Mai she'eino Oivd Ger Toshev. L'chayre she'eino Oivd means a Ger Toshev who's makabel on himself not to be Oivd Kechavim. And we said the rule is both a Ovid or a Eina Ovid can be mevatel. Shmam Ger Toshev not mevatel. They're both talking about Ovid Kechavim. Neither of them are Ger Toshev. Then that's the same thing. You're saying one belongs to him and one belongs to someone else. That was already covered in the Brisa. The Reisha is talking about where it said that they're both the same. Shaloi v'shel chaveroi. That's talking about one. They were both Ovid, the same Avodah Zara. Sefer zelapar b'zel makulis, and Sefer is talking about whether they have a different when it says whether it's Oivda or whether it's not Oivda. It means to say even if one of them, if the guy who's coming to me mavatal is Oivda, a different god than the one who owns that idol, even so, one's a Hindu and the other one is a Zoroastrian. Even so, they can each be mavatal. The other one's Avodah Zarah. Correct the Gemara. Basically, and ask another question on this dinner. So we answered this question of Nachman. Now we're going to ask another question that Rav Nachman had said that one of someone who's a ger toshav could be mevatel the avodah zara. I'm sorry, he said he can't be mevatel. A ger toshav is not able to mevatel that of another avodah zara that belongs to another god. Mason, Ezu ger toshav. Who is a ger toshav? Kol shekibul love if make gimel chaver. Someone who's makabel himself in front of three chashav yidin. Shall love it avodas keichav. Not to avodas keichav. Divrei May. May says that's all he has to do. It means even though obviously the Sheva Mitzvah is mechuyev to do it, but he additionally was makabel on himself specifically. He's not going to do it. The Chacham say no, he has to do more. It's not just enough to be makabel of it. He has to do makabel all Sheva Mitzvahs meinah. This is not enough, even if he was makabel the Sheva Mitzvah meinah. Hello, Ezeger Toshav Zeger Eichel Nevela Shekal Level Kaim Kol Mitzvah Muspatara Chutz Meyis Nevela. It has to be somebody, a non-Jew, who said, "I'm going to be Mekayim all the mitzvahs except for one of them." An example being, he said, I'm not going to stop eating nevelas. Once he's makabel all of them, then he has to really be Megayah already. So the Brisa continues with the dinim of a ger toshav. Miyachden etzlo yayin. You can leave a ger toshav together with wine because we're not chosheshim for avodas kechavim. So we can leave him again by the wine. What's he going to do? He's not going to be menasachet l'avodah zarah because he doesn't do avodah zarah, and we're not chosheshim that he's going to exchange it for his own wine, which remains aser. His wine still has the gzeira of yayin nesach of stam yenim, but we're not chosh that he's going to do that. But you can't give him long-term wine. Even the ir sherubi Yisrael, because we're afraid. But if we are miyachad the wine by him, then we're worried that he's gonna have enough time. We'll realize, I can make some money. I'll exchange it for some of my cheap wine, and I'll sell it, and I'll make more money. And that's even if it's ir sherubi Yisrael, they're not going to see that he does that because they'd be over the yachid by him. You left him. Al biyachid that's lo yayin. What was it? Yeah. So you miyachid, you can leave him. Al miyachid that's lo yayin. But you can leave him alone with the wine for a short period of time, even if it's ir sheruba ovid kecham. Shemnoi, his shemen, kiyenoi. Shemen has the din of yain. Shemen kiyen is like a daito. How could a shemen have the same din as his yain? There's no being ovid shemen. Shemen is just the isser of that it's al chasnus. We've been mevatel this altogether, but they used to have a isser because we were worried about associating with goyim. So he said that their shemen becomes aser be'achila. But there's no Isser Shtia, there's no Isser Hana. So how could you say that the Shemen has a din like the Yayin? Shemen Mikahavi Yayin Ki Yayin Nesech. What is the Aleph? Shemen Mikahavi Nesech. There's no Nisach, there's no being Ovid Shemen, so there should be no reason to Aser Bana. Elo Yayin Kishneme. It's saying the other way around, that his wine is like his shemen. That means it's only we're saying that the yayin of a ger toshav is not going to be aser b'shtia. It's only aser b'hana. I'm sorry, it's only aser b'shtia. It's not aser b'hana. The Bryce continues, like for everything else, he's like an Ovid Kechavim. Shimon says, no, his yayin is even asa bahana, unlike what we said that his yayin is like shemen. And some say Shimon said exactly the other way around. He said he was makel. He said their yayin, since we're not chayshish for yayin nesach, we're not even chayshish for the takanas chacham doesn't apply to them since they're not oivdei avodah zara. So you could even drink their wine. Katani mia, uleshakal dvar v'reika oivdei chavim. But the Brisa said that for everything else, like Avichava, isn't it mean to say that it's like an Avid Kechavim, that if he has the ability to be Mavatal just like an Avid Kechavim do? That's not what it's telling you. So this is a Raya Keneged Rav Nachman. It's talking about Lagabi Din of Erevin. When we say it's like that Geratash is like an Avid Kechavim, it's Lagabi the Din to be when Yidden are living together in a chatzah, they have to make an erev chatzeris. If one person is not part of the erev chatzeris, it ruins the erev chatzeris. If you remember all the way back 3-4 years when we learned the erevin, so a yid, in order to him to be able, if a yid is not able to participate in the erev, what he can do is he can say, "I'm giving you rishus that you can have rishus in my property." So therefore, that it's not a real matana that doesn't belong to him anymore. But Lagavi did Erevin, the Yid is able to say, you have Rishus in my house, or I'm being Mavatal my Rishus in the Chatzar, so you all can carry in the Chatzar. So Yid can do that. So we're saying that the Ger Toshav, but a guy is not able to do that. A guy can't be part of a Erev Chatzeris, and he can't give Rishus, so being Mavatal Rishus. So we're saying the Ger Toshav has the same thing. But Katani, Yisrael Mumma, a Yisrael who's not who doesn't follow the laws, he's Ovid Avodah Zarah himself. But Misham Shabbos B'Shuk, if he uses Shem Shabbos b'Farhesya Mevatel Rishus, then he has the ability to Mevatel his Rishus and participate in the Erev, or not ruin the Erev. She'ain Misham Shabbos B'Shuk, but if he's a Mechal Shabbos b'Farhesya, Ein Mevatel Rishus, he's not able to participate in the Erev. Neisham Yisrael Lois Rishus and Mevatel Rishus. Yisrael can give Rishus and Mivat Rishus, but this Mumar is like a guy, and Ovid Gechavim has to actually rent out his property. He doesn't have the ability to do this shorthand version. Ketzad, how are you Mivatal Rishus? I'm like Rishusi Knuyalach Rishusi Muvutelislach. Kind of Ein Sarach Liskis. If he says, he says how are you doing the sinus rishus and mavad bitul rishus? He says I'm being kind of my rishus to the chatzar in the chatzar. I'm being mavad my rishus in the chatzar. Then the people in the group, someone is mavad is kind of his rishus. He's mavad rishus, and he doesn't have to actually rent his property. But oived gichav and a ger toishav, that's what they have to do. So we don't have a raya legabi bitul. Negative Nachman, it's really talking about this din of Erev. What time is it? Let's do 5 minutes. We have a little bit of Agada to hear. Rav Yehuda Shadalei Kurbana la Avidrana. He sent a present to this guy Avidrana b'Yom Edom on their Yom Tov. Now, if you remember all the way back in the first Mishnah, we said you're not allowed to give things. You're not allowed to do any kind of business with Avodah Zara on their holidays because they're going to thank their Lord. Amar Yabana. So they asked, how can you do this? Amar Yadana bedelei palach l'Avodah Zara. I know he's not Avodah Zara. Amar Rav Yosef Atanya Izu Ger Toshav Kol Shekibul Abim Gimel Chaverim Shloi Lav Avodah Kechavim. That a Ger Toshav is someone who's Mekabel in front of Chaverim, not to be Avodah Kechavim. That but that's mashma. That only someone who became a ger toshav has the din that he's not a oived avodah zara. So just because you know about this avidrana that he's not oived, that doesn't make him a ger toshav, and the yishtlchari should be also to give him a gift. So Tomar kitanya hi lachi yosei. That's only talking about lagabi. The din of ger toshav is only that you're able to support him, but it doesn't. That's not the only way that someone will become a non-oived avodah kechavim that you're allowed to give him a gift. So a ger toisha that 12 months passed and he didn't do Mila, he's like the worst of the Avoda Kechavim, the ones who are like totally obsessed with the Avodah Zara. So l'chayra, it's mashma. It's not just legabi the din of that you could be mechayah them. That's only talking about someone, a ger toishav, who said he intends to be megayer, and then he pushes it off. Then we chayshish that he's attracted against his avodah zarah. Rava amti le kurbana lebar shishach b'yoyimida. Rava sent a gift to this guy bar shishach on their holiday. I know he doesn't worship avodah zarah. Azal ashkeche diyasav atzavare bevarda. He went and he found him that he was sitting in a in up to his neck in rose petals. V'kayma zoynus arumas kameh, and he had women zoynus next to him in the bathhouse. Amalei islachu kai gavna la'amada asi. This Bashishach said to him, "Do you have such pleasures in your lasid lavai la'achamei ve'esrim?" Amalei didan adifa tfei mehai. He said, "What we have is better than what you have." Amalei tfei mehai mihavi. He said, "Can anything be better than sitting in the bathhouse covered in rose petals with the Zionist?" Amalei esen ika atoin ika alaika emse de malchusa. You think you have things so good? Any minute the king could dictate to you whatever he wants. So we have no fear of a melech other than the melech malchem lachem. He said, listen, you're telling me that there's some theoretical imposition of government authority. It's not negay. They're not coming for me. What are they going to do to me? While they're sitting there and arguing about this, a messenger from the king came. He said, the king needs you right now. You got to get up out of your hedonistic pleasures. When he got up and left, any eye that wants to look, he said he was masking that who was it? Rava was right. I think it was Rava. Yeah. He said to Rava, I see you're right, and any eye that looks at you askance, that eye should fall out. Amalei Rava, Amen. Rava said, so it should be. So immediately his eye popped out, even though he was giving him a bracha, and Rava said, you should be gebenched. He said that the fact that the Bar Shishach was trying to argue with him, that itself was negative. Amra Papi, he should have answered, Rava should have answered from this pasuk, Benois Malachim, Bikuroisecha, the daughters of Malachim will attend to you. Nitzvah Shagal Limunecha Bekesem Meifer. And the queen will stand by your right side, and she's going to be covered with fancy jewelry. So you see that the daughters of Malachim, he said that that was Rava's answer, was that we're not going to be subject to the kings, and you see this pasuk says that Lasid Lavai, the kings are going to attend to us. Another pasuk. No one besides the Avodah Shalom has seen what is in store for Yidden Lasid Lavai. Okay. Yeah, so we'll stop over here. Have a good Shabbos, and Bez Hashem, I'll see you on Motzei Shabbos.
Shabbos.